What makes Mortal Kombat games feel like a Mortal Kombat game? I've been thinking about this and talking about it with a couple of friends of mine, and I think I finally identified what makes a game feel like a Mortal Kombat game. And just to let you know, it's probably not what you're thinking.
Bow to me.
I believe most would agree that the gore and over-the-top violence is a hallmark of the Mortal Kombat franchise. And while that is a part of the makeup of the series, I'm referring to how the game actually plays. A friend of mine posed an interesting question to me. He asked, if a Mortal Kombat game was stripped of all the aesthetics, the way it looks, the characters, their skins, the outfits, the stages, if everything was taken away except for how the game plays and its mechanics, and it was given to a fan of the series, would that player be able to determine if they were actually playing a Mortal Kombat game or something else? And honestly speaking, depending on the game, I don't know if they would be able to. The Mortal Kombat games have ranged from very slow, somewhat footsie-based gameplay to extremely fast gameplay that completely skips neutral and everything in between. It's probably the fighting game franchise that has the most major changes of the style of gameplay from game to game ever. It's really tough to pin down a certain play style, but I can tell you three things that seem to be important traits of the game that doesn't seem to be in the more recent games anymore. The first is the uppercut. This has been present ever since the first game, and it's carried over to the most recent game. But I feel the presentation of the uppercut has really changed. In past games, the uppercut seemed to be a moment that the developers wanted the player to recognize and actively hunt for. Man, I remember landing an uppercut for the first time. Oh my gosh. It was an amazing feeling. When you landed an uppercut, it feels like everything pauses for just a moment. There's a slight shake of the screen to add a little emphasis on the attack that you probably didn't notice all this time when you were playing.
But your brain did.
And sometimes you might hear the announcer compliment the player for landing the punch.
Excellent. Superb.
Anyone who played the old school MK games will tell you how satisfying it was to land the uppercut and how dope it was to finish an opponent with an uppercut to knock them off of the pit. In modern games, the uppercut just feels like another attack. The pause, the screen shake, the announcer, it's all gone, and it makes a move just feel less special. Instead, it seems that all the emphasis has gone to the breakers, which is cool. I like the idea that they put emphasis on the breakers and kind of makes that feel like a moment. But I feel like putting emphasis back onto the uppercut can make the next Mortal Kombat game really feel like a Mortal Kombat. And that doesn't mean you take away emphasis from breakers, don't get me wrong. But I would like there to be emphasis on both the breakers and the uppercut. The second thing I feel really set Mortal Kombat apart from its contemporaries back in the day was the dial-a-combo system. While Street Fighter II players were doing 2 or 3 hit combos, MK3 players were doing 4 or 5 or 6 hit combos. Now, combos are still around today, but I think the flow of the combo has drastically changed. Combos nowadays are slower and much more similar to the speed of what an actual fight might look like. Speed-wise, anyway. Not everything else is still over the top, but speed-wise. But when the dial-a-combo was introduced in MK3, the speed of the attacks were much faster, and they felt more impactful because of, well, number one, the screams of the opponent, and most combos ended by knocking the opponent so far away that you couldn't get Oki unless you were in the corner. And this really forced players to pursue the opponent, and I think that adds a much more aggressive feeling to the game.
Well done. Sub-Zero wins.
I really wish the tempo of combos would return to the series, as I think that also makes MK really feel like MK. Lastly, I think the run button should be a staple of the franchise. Street Fighter has cemented itself as a footsie-based game where players fight for control of the neutral. Instead of being Street Fighter Lite, essentially, NRS should separate itself by embracing how it's different and allow players to run. I absolutely love what they did in MKX by incorporating run to allow players to link combos that normally wouldn't be able to connect, and I don't know why they moved away from that idea. Of course, there should be defensive mechanics. I'm not saying it should return to everything MKX was. For example, I still don't know why they haven't introduced a push block mechanic to help players get out of pressure, but I think embracing the aggressive nature of the run mechanic can really establish the identity of Mortal Kombat. There are other things NRS can do to make the next game really feel like a Mortal Kombat game. And I know that a lot of this stuff is subjective. For example, I've seen people say that they don't like the bright stages of MK1. But personally, I don't feel the stages must be dark to feel like a Mortal Kombat game, as they've always had bright, well-lit stages in Mortal Kombat. However, I do feel the music plays a major part in how a game makes you feel. Games like Smash Bros. Ultimate embraced everything that made their previous title successful, and one way they did that was by bringing back every music track from every game and allow players to assign certain songs to certain stages however you want. Mortal Kombat has a long list of iconic music tracks. I feel they should bring those back to really capture the feel of previous games. I think the announcer should be much more vocal in the fights by either complimenting who's currently winning or mocking whoever is losing.
Well done. Superb. Finish him. Sub-Zero wins.
Also, little Easter eggs like hints to what might be hidden in the game has also been moved away from completely. Give us a mysterious character showing up before a fight to state a cryptic message before disappearing. Floyd was really cool, but clearly that was thought of after the fact because we didn't have Floyd showing up in between matches to let us know, hey, I'm here and this is a hint to how you can find me. All of these are things you might not have noticed are gone from recent games.
But your brain did.
The presentation of the uppercut, the tempo of combos, and the run button are a few gameplay aspects I believe really make a Mortal Kombat game feel like a Mortal Kombat game. So, I hope that these, as well as things like music from previous games, the announcer, and more emphasis on secrets all return to the next installment of the franchise. Which aspect of a past Mortal Kombat game do you really want to return in a future game? Don't say something like, I want Sector and Cyrax to be guys again. Like, we get it. But that doesn't determine how a game actually feels when you're playing it, and that's what I'm asking. Share what part of a Mortal Kombat game that affects how the game feels when you're playing it that you would like to see return in a future game. If you made it this far, you can
Acknowledge me!
by hitting the like button. This helps videos like this get to viewers like you, and it is very much appreciated. You can hit confirm that by hitting the subscribe button to join
Literally millions!
of ShinFit subscribers. If you'd like to see my match against Headlock Gaming, that video is on screen now. But more importantly than everything else, don't get beat up out there.